So welcome to Beekeeping 101. I keep bees in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm a hobby beekeeper. I don't do and have not done commercial beekeeping or migratory beekeeping. So hobby beekeeping is my passion, and it's also my passion to kind of help mentor and get people feeling positive about the experience. So today we're going to discuss introduction to beekeeping. It's a really basic class. We're not going to go into diseases much, or if at all, or medicine very much. So it's important that you get at least a beginning beekeeping book that has the appropriate information for you so that you can move forward in your beekeeping endeavors. So we're going to discuss the hive and the honeybee, basic biology and equipment, the hives and the tools that you're going to need, and the kinds of bees. We're going to talk about those, and beekeeping kind of a year at a glance, kind of what has to happen in short form. So beekeeping is inherently a local activity. It's very important that you find local beekeepers. It's like gardening, where the forage here is different. It's on a calendar. So what's happening in Salt Lake is going to be different than what's happening here, or maybe even what grows here is a little bit different. So there's a really strong local component, and if you can find local beekeeping clubs, that's a great thing to do. And experience is the best teacher of beekeeping. So as you really can learn as you go. There's so much information. There's information on the internet. You kind of have to be a little bit careful about making sure that when you're looking at the YouTube videos and you're taking in all of this information, that you're watching and experienced beekeepers. Because a lot of people get great film footage, but they're so new at it that they're going through the same kind of experiences that you are, or maybe just a year along. It's great to find a mentor that's been keeping bees for about 3 years. 3 or 4 years is really good. You want to make sure that there's abundant forage for bees, because what do bees need? Flowers. Lots of them. Lots of abundance in forage. So beekeeping is just more than biology. It's a science. So if you blend biology and bee-flower interaction and just some natural history, you have the art of beekeeping, or we like to call it the art of beekeeping in Utah. But we've developed these new Facebook pages that we have the art of beekeeping in Idaho, the art of beekeeping in Oregon. This sort of happened on accident. Everyone was kind of new to Facebook. It was a new thing, and people just started joining this group. I kind of had a lot of beekeeping friends, and I started asking them to join, and pretty soon just this organic conversation began. So with this, you can see that you can take pictures, upload them, ask the question about what you're seeing, or what you think you should be seeing, or some weird thing that you've never seen before, and almost immediately or within the hour, you'll get some answers. So even if you're not a Facebooker, there are guys that are older beekeepers that have been keeping bees for 35 years, 30 years, that got on to Facebook just so that they could kind of mentor through this forum. So it's a little bit different than a blog, or there's a wonderful forum that's called Bee Source, and Bee Source is a great forum as well. But the way that Facebook works, it's just kind of an immediate thing. So if you have a problem that you want to take a picture of, or just a question, just a general beekeeping question, you can put it on Facebook and there will be some answers for you. So it's kind of cool. Okay, so we're going to talk about the basic biology of the bee. So this is a life cycle slide of a worker bee. Worker bees are all female. The queen is female, and the drone bee is male. So the queen lays an egg. Day 1 of that egg is the first day of the bee's entire life cycle of the 42-day life cycle. Bees, they live for about 6 weeks. It takes 3 days for the egg to hatch. There's not a shell on the egg, it's just a membrane. In the insect world, the eggs just have a membrane, and on the 3rd day that just kind of dissolves and disappears and hatches down into a larva. The larvae are fed bee bread that consists of pollen and honey. The first 3 days, however, they're all fed royal jelly. The early larvae are visited 200 times a day, and the larvae in their life cycle can be visited up to 10,000 times until the cell is capped. So it's pretty high volume activity. The cell is sealed, and the larva pupates, and then at 21 days or 10 days after the cell is sealed, then the adult bee emerges. The queen is the exclusive reproductive organ of this kind of superorganism, so she's just one part. She doesn't make the decisions, it's the worker bees that makes the decisions. They help her kind of decide what needs to happen and where she needs to go. So if you look on your picture, you can see on the black foundation that D&B has for sale, that's brood foundation. And you can nicely see the eggs that are in the cells. That's what that's for. The black and the yellow foundation is just aesthetics for us. The bees don't care. They'll lay wherever. The queen can lay as the season increases, the queen can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. So as she's expanding from April to June, she'll lay just thousands of eggs a day. And so you need to predict and be proactive and know that and plan so that you can grow your bees as large as possible. Because every day there's going to be lots of bees being born. So here's a picture of the progressive age of the larva on the right. Right here, you can see eggs down here in these cells all the way on the right. And then as you progress to the left, they get progressively older. So these little C-shaped larvae right here are just being fed royal jelly for the first 3 days. They grow very quickly. That's also so that if the bees need to replace their queen, they'll have an opportunity to do that. Just with the right age larva, they'll be able to grow a new queen. After about 3 days, when the bees start to feed, the worker bees start to feed the larva bee bread, then they can't make a queen anymore. Or they'll rarely use larvae that's been fed bee bread. So it takes 21 days for a worker bee to hatch. It takes 24 days for the drone or the males to hatch. And it takes 16 days for the queen to hatch. Is everybody with me? Okay. It's 21 days for the worker bees, 16 days for a queen, and 24 days for the drones.
But there's only one queen.
There's only one queen. So in this house, there's one queen. And she will live in these 2 boxes. And you'll help her stay down there with a queen excluder, which we'll get to in a little bit. But so she'll live down in those 2 boxes, and that's where she'll grow. The young will be grown in that area, and then the honey will be on top.
The queen only lives 42 days too?
The queen can live up to 3 years. Up to 3 years. It's kind of become a rarity for her to live that long these days, but the world record, I think, is 8 years that she's lived. So when you look at this, as you're learning, it just sort of looks like a big mess. It looks very confusing, and you don't know what you're looking at. So as a beekeeper, your job is to be very proactive, to know to anticipate what's going to happen next, instead of kind of reacting to what's happening. It's really important to know ahead what's going to happen. So when you're learning how to read frames, it just looks like a big mess. Can anyone see the queen on this? Yeah, right. Is she right there? Let's see. right there with the yellow dot. Can everybody see her? So on this frame, this is a very healthy, nice frame of capped brood. This area over here is what the worker brood looks like. And when you're first learning what it looks like, it's hard to know. Some people get confused about what is honey and what is brood. Or what is honey and what is brood. The cap actually looks different. The cap on honey is white and smooth and looks like it's sealed nice and tight. In the brood chamber, the wax is recycled. The bees reuse the wax, and it's chewed, and it doesn't look spongy, or well, it looks spongy, but it's not. There's actually oxygen exchange going in and out of those cells. So that's a nice, healthy frame of bees. Tons of them. The queen is on here. Her job is, she's looking for just an open cell. She's just trying to find an opening to lay an egg.
So
yes.
Do you reuse these cells after the baby's born and run out of there, the cell gets filled up with an egg?
Yes.
It's done all over.
Exactly. So every 21 days, the worker bee emerges, turns around, cleans the cell out immediately on the first day she's born, and then prepares that cell for the queen to lay a new egg. So they'll just reuse and reuse. And it's interesting because as they use that, the wax will get darker and darker as they polish it and use it. So it's predictable, and it is predictable where the queen is, even in these two lower boxes. Bees live in a sphere or circular shape, so even though you have them in these square boxes, inside they want to kind of live in a circle with the nest, and the queen usually stays in the middle. So in a frame of 10 boxes, or in a box of 10 frames, the queen is usually going to live between the 4th frame and the 7th frame. So she's always going to be kind of in the center. She tends to like to kind of be in the same place all the time. So you can predict when you're going through your bees and you're doing a bee inspection that you can almost know where she is. On occasion, if she expands very quickly, then she'll start to expand on those outer edges, but mostly she'll be in the center, kind of in the darkest, deepest recesses she likes to be.